The autistic girl who saved a K9 German Shepherd with her last drop. What happened next touched everyone. A girl that many thought was too fragile to change the world ended up doing something extraordinary. She had no words to explain how she felt, but when she saw a wounded K9 German Shepherd collapsing in front of her, she gave everything she had left, even her last drop of water, to save him. What followed was a chain of events that no one expected, a story of loyalty, courage, and the bond between two souls who understood each other without speaking. Get ready, because this is not just another dog story. It's a journey that will make you rethink the meaning of love, sacrifice, and strength. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on notifications. This helps us bring more inspiring stories like this to you. The small town of Fairview was not the kind of place where extraordinary things usually happened. Nestled between rolling fields and a winding river, life there seemed slow, predictable, and quiet. Yet on a warm spring afternoon, everything changed for 12-year-old Emily Carter. Emily was different, and everyone in town knew it. Diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, she had always struggled to connect with people the way others did. Words often felt heavy in her mouth, sounds around her sometimes too loud, and crowds overwhelming. But Emily had her own way of seeing the world. She noticed details others missed. The way sunlight caught on a leaf, the pattern of raindrops on a window, the rhythm of a dog's breathing. That day, Emily wandered near the edge of the riverbank while her mother sat a few yards away, reading a book. Emily liked being close to water. It calmed her, the steady ripple like a song she could follow without effort. She crouched low, tracing a stick in the mud, when suddenly a noise broke the stillness. A heavy rustle, a thud, then a low whine. Emily froze. From the trees staggered a massive German Shepherd. His dark coat was matted, his chest rising and falling as if each breath cost him strength he no longer had. His left paw dragged slightly, leaving a faint trail in the dirt. Across his side, Emily saw a deep scrape, fresh and raw. She didn't know it yet, but this was Rex, a decorated K9 who had served with the local police force until an accident during a nighttime pursuit left him injured and dismissed. He had run from the kennel that very morning, desperate and thirsty, searching for something or someone who could understand him. Emily's heart thudded against her chest. Dogs usually made her nervous. Their sudden movements and loud barks could overwhelm her senses. But something about Rex was different. He didn't bark. He didn't charge forward. He just looked at her with dark, tired eyes that seemed to plead for help. Emily reached into her small backpack. Her mother always packed a bottle of water for her walks, knowing Emily sometimes forgot to drink. She unscrewed the cap slowly, her hands trembling. Without thinking twice, she poured the water into her cupped palm and held it out. Rex sniffed, then lowered his massive head. His tongue brushed against her skin, lapping up the cool drops as if they were the most precious thing in the world. Emily's mother, hearing the movement, rushed over. "Emily, step back," she cried, fear shooting through her voice. But Emily didn't move. For once, she felt calm, not overwhelmed. Rex wasn't just a dog to her. He was like her, misunderstood, cast aside, carrying wounds people couldn't always see. The bottle emptied quickly, and Emily looked down at Rex's injury. She didn't know how to heal it, but she knew he couldn't stay alone in the woods. When Rex finished the last drop of water, he pressed his nose against her wrist gently, almost like a thank you. Emily's mother, realizing the dog wasn't a threat, knelt closer. Her eyes softened when she saw the faded badge still attached to Rex's collar. "This is a K9, she whispered. "Emily, he belongs to the police." But Rex didn't look like a dog with a home. He looked lost. Emily reached out carefully, touching the side of his face. Her fingers rested against his coarse fur, and for the first time in her life, she didn't flinch from sudden contact. Rex closed his eyes, leaning into her small hand, as though he had been waiting for this moment. For her, all along. The air hung heavy with unspoken words. Emily didn't need to speak. Her actions said enough. She turned to her mother, determination in her wide eyes. "He needs me," she said softly, each word deliberate, almost surprised at her mother. Emily didn't usually speak so clearly. Her mother hesitated, torn between fear and the undeniable sight in front of her. Her daughter, the little girl who often struggled to connect with anyone, sitting calmly with an injured police dog who trusted her completely. In that instant, two worlds collided, a misunderstood child and a forgotten hero. Neither of them belonged where they had been placed. Yet together, something extraordinary was beginning. As the sun dipped lower, painting the riverbank in gold, Emily's mother finally nodded. "Okay," she whispered, "but we need to help him." Emily smiled faintly, a rare, fragile smile that spread warmth through her mother's chest. She didn't know how yet, but deep down she understood. This was the beginning of something bigger than either of them could imagine. Rex shifted, letting out a low groan of pain, and Emily tightened her small fingers in his fur, as if promising she wouldn't let go. What Emily didn't know was that saving Rex with her last drop of water would not only rescue him, it would awaken a journey that would change both their lives forever. How could a girl who rarely spoke end up becoming the voice that gave a forgotten K9 a second chance? The answer was about to unfold. Emily's mother, Claire, knew that bringing Rex home was not going to be simple. The dog was badly injured, limping with every step, and their small sedan was not designed to carry such a large animal. Still, something inside her told her not to separate them. She had seen the look in Emily's eyes, that rare spark of connection that rarely came so naturally. For once, her daughter seemed anchored, her attention steady, her voice sure. Claire couldn't take that away. With effort, Claire helped coax Rex into the back seat. Emily sat beside him, one hand gently resting on his paw, as if assuring him he wasn't alone. The ride back into town was silent, except for the low rumble of Rex's breathing and the hum of tires on asphalt. Every few minutes, Emily leaned closer, whispering words that didn't always make sense but carried comfort in their tone. Rex responded with a faint wag of his tail. When they arrived home, Rex hesitated at the front door. Emily tugged lightly at his collar, guiding him inside. Their modest house smelled faintly of lavender, with walls lined by books Claire often read aloud in hopes Emily would respond. But tonight, it was Rex who filled the silence. He padded slowly across the living room, sniffed the carpet, then lowered himself with a groan near the couch. Emily dropped to the floor beside him, sitting cross-legged. She didn't speak, didn't try to force him to move. She simply stayed, her presence saying what words could not. Claire made a quick call to Dr. Lewis, the town veterinarian. Within an hour, he arrived, his silver hair gleaming beneath the porch light. He frowned as he inspected Rex's wound. "This is no stray," he said. "That's a service dog, a police K9. And from the looks of it, he's been through hell. Can you help him?" Claire asked. Dr. Lewis nodded. "I can patch him up, but he needs rest and trust. Someone he can rely on. Dogs like him don't give their loyalty easily. But once they do, it's for life." Emily didn't take her eyes off Rex. She stroked his neck gently, and Rex let out a soft sigh, as if agreeing. Over the next few days, Emily and Rex fell into a rhythm. Every morning before school, she sat with him in the yard, pouring out her thoughts in short, halting sentences. For years, teachers had struggled to coax Emily into speaking more than a handful of words. Yet with Rex, she spoke without hesitation. She told him about the way the sky felt too bright sometimes, or how loud noises made her heart race. Rex listened, his ears twitching at her every word. When she paused, he nudged her hand, as though to say, "I hear you." But their fragile peace soon faced its first real challenge. On the fourth day, Officer Daniels arrived at their door. He was Rex's former handler, a tall man with sharp eyes and a stern jawline. His uniform still carried the smell of gunpowder and sweat. "I heard you found him," he said, stepping inside without waiting for permission. Rex lifted his head from where he lay at Emily's feet, ears perking up. For a moment, his tail wagged faintly, a flicker of recognition. Then he whined and turned his head away. Officer Daniels stiffened. "He's not fit for service anymore. The department already wrote him off. He's been restless since the accident, wouldn't obey commands. He ran off during the night. He's your problem now." The bluntness of his tone hit Claire like a slap. "He's not a problem," she snapped. "He's hurt. He needs care." Daniels gave a humorless laugh. Care? He's a tool, Mrs. Carter. A broken tool. You don't waste time fixing something that won't work again. Emily's hands clenched into fists. Her voice, usually quiet, rose in a trembling shout. He's not broken. Daniels blinked, startled. Emily rarely spoke in class, often sitting silently at the back. For her to raise her voice was extraordinary. Claire put an arm around her, pride swelling in her chest. But Daniels wasn't finished. The department won't take him back. Liability issues. If you keep him, you're on your own. He's unpredictable. Dangerous, even. Dangerous. The word stung. Emily looked down at Rex, who was leaning against her leg like a weary child. His eyes met hers, wide and trusting. Dangerous? No. He was the safest place she had ever known. After Daniels left, slamming the door behind him, Claire sat heavily at the kitchen table. This won't be easy, Emily, she said softly. We'll have to fight for him. People won't understand. Emily stroked Rex's fur, her expression steady. I understand, she whispered. That night, Rex whimpered in his sleep, his legs twitching as if he were running through nightmares. Emily, curled beside him on the living room rug, placed her small hand on his chest. Slowly, his trembling eased. Her mother, watching from the hallway, pressed her palm to her mouth to stifle tears. For years, she had prayed for something, anything, that would give Emily the courage to step into the world. She never imagined it would come in the form of a battered canine, but the challenges only grew. The neighbors whispered, questioning why the Carters had taken in a violent police dog. At school, Emily overheard kids mocking her for bringing that broken mutt into her life. For a girl who already struggled to fit in, the ridicule cut deep. Yet every time doubt tried to creep in, Rex was there. He waited at the window when she came home, ears perking at the sound of her footsteps. He listened to her stories, never laughing, never judging. And slowly, Emily began to find her voice, not just for him, but for herself. The first test of their bond had arrived, and they had passed together. But darker storms loomed ahead. For all the love Emily poured into Rex, the world outside wasn't ready to accept him. And one mistake could cost them both everything. Could a girl who had struggled all her life to be heard protect a dog that the world had already silenced? The answer was about to be tested in ways neither of them expected. The morning sun spilled to the Carter family's kitchen window, painting everything in golden light. Emily sat at the table with her cereal, Rex at her side like a silent guardian. He had grown stronger in the past week, his wound healing under Dr. Lewis's care, but his limp remained. To Emily, it didn't matter. She loved him exactly as he was. To the rest of the world, however, Rex was still seen as broken. At school, Emily's classmates had begun to whisper more loudly about her. She thinks she can fix a cop dog. One boy sneered in the hallway. Another girl muttered, he's dangerous. My dad said he could snap any time. Their words sank into Emily's chest like stones. She didn't reply. She never did. But her fists clenched tighter around the straps of her backpack. When she came home that afternoon, Rex was waiting by the gate. His ears perked, his tail wagged once, and Emily's world felt steady again. She crouched down, burying her face in his fur. They don't understand, she whispered. But you do. Rex licked her cheek, his soft gaze locking onto hers. That bond, invisible but unbreakable, gave Emily courage. Yet life has a way of testing the fragile threads we cling to, and their biggest test was about to arrive. The town council had announced a community fair at the park with games, food stalls, and a showcase of rescue animals. Claire thought it might be good for Emily, a chance to socialize, to practice stepping into the noise of the world with Rex by her side. At first, Emily resisted. Crowds made her heart race. Loudspeakers and laughter felt like chaos crashing down on her. But when Claire suggested Rex could come too, Emily hesitated, then nodded. If Rex could face the world again, so could she. On the day of the fair, Emily clutched Rex's leash tightly as they walked through the gates. He stayed close to her, head lowered, ears twitching at the unfamiliar sounds. People noticed immediately. Whispers trailed him like shadows. Isn't it the injured police dog? Someone asked. "He shouldn't be here," another said. Emily's chest tightened, but Rex pressed against her leg, grounding her. They visited a booth selling handmade collars, then another with dog treats. For a moment, Emily even smiled as she picked one out for Rex. But the peace didn't last. Near the main stage, a boy darted past, clutching a balloon. Rex stiffened at the sudden movement, instincts kicking in. He barked, loud, sharp, protective. The sound cut to the fair like a blade. The boy stumbled, dropping his balloon, and burst into tears. Gasps erupted around them. "See? Dangerous," someone shouted. "He shouldn't be out here," another voice cried. Emily's face burned red. She crouched, wrapping her arms around Rex's neck. "It's okay," she whispered urgently, her voice shaking. "You didn't mean it. You were scared too." But the crowd's fear spread quickly. 2 security volunteers approached, their faces stern. "Ma'am," one said to Claire, "this dog needs to leave." Emily's throat closed. She wanted to shout, to explain, but the words tangled inside her. She looked down at Rex, who was panting heavily, eyes darting with confusion. He hadn't attacked anyone. He had only barked. Yet in that moment, Emily saw how fragile their place in the world truly was. Claire argued quietly with the volunteers, eventually leading Emily and Rex away. By the time they reached home, Emily was trembling. She collapsed onto the porch steps, clutching Rex's fur as tears streamed down her face. "They think you're bad," she sobbed. "But I know the truth. You're not bad. You're the best thing I have." Rex pressed his head against her chest, his weight steady and grounding. His eyes seemed to say, "As long as you believe in me, nothing else matters." That night, Claire tucked Emily into bed. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "people are afraid of what they don't understand. But you saw how Rex trusted you at the fair. That's what matters." Emily stared at the ceiling. What if they try to take him away? Claire's heart clenched. She brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead. "Then we'll fight, just like you've been fighting your whole life. You and Rex, you give each other strength." Emily turned her head, eyes glistening. "I don't want to lose him." "You won't," Claire promised. But deep down, she wasn't certain. The fair had shown her how quickly suspicion could turn into judgment, and she knew the world rarely gave second chances to those it labeled broken. The next day, Dr. Lewis stopped by to check on Rex. As he wrapped a fresh bandage around the healing wound, he shook his head. "That fair wasn't fair to him," he muttered. "He's a working dog. He reacts because that's what he was trained to do. But I'll tell you this, I've never seen him calmer than when he's with Emily. She's his anchor." Emily, sitting cross-legged on the floor, stroked Rex's ear. She didn't look up, but her lips curved into the faintest smile. Still, the shadow of doubt lingered. The town was talking, and Officer Daniel's words, "dangerous," echoed louder now. If Rex slipped again, if fear won over understanding, their fragile bond could be ripped apart. But Emily had made up her mind. She wasn't going to let the world decide Rex's fate. For the first time in her life, she felt strong enough to fight, not just for herself, but for him. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Emily whispered to Rex, "We'll show them. We'll prove you're not broken. We'll prove we both belong." Rex leaned into her, his eyes steady, his breath slow. And though the road ahead was uncertain, in that quiet moment, girl and dog shared the same unspoken vow. They would stand together, no matter what came next. Could Emily's courage and Rex's loyalty be enough to overcome a world full of doubt? Or would one more mistake tear them apart for good? The days following the fair were heavy with silence. Emily rarely looked up when she walked through town with her mother, and even though Rex stayed glued to her side, she could feel the stares. People crossed the street when they saw them coming. Whispers followed them, whispers that cut deeper than any shouted insult. Claire tried to shield Emily from it, but her daughter wasn't oblivious. She noticed every sidelong glance, every door that shut a little quicker when Rex's paws clicked on the sidewalk. And though Emily said little, Claire could see the tension in her shoulders and the way her fingers twitched at her sleeves. Rex, too, seemed to sense a change. He became restless, pacing the living room at night, ears pricked at every distant siren. His instincts as a police K-9 hadn't faded, even if the world no longer wanted his service. Sometimes he whined softly in the dark, and Emily would crawl down from her bed to lie beside him on the rug until his breathing calmed. But the storm that had been gathering finally struck one Wednesday afternoon. Emily and Claire were walking home from the grocery store, Rex trotting faithfully beside them, when they heard shouting from across the street. A teenager, one of the boys from Emily's school, was jeering at them. "Hey, better keep that mutt locked up before he bites someone," he yelled, his friends laughing behind him. Emily's face burned. She tightened her grip on Rex's leash. But the boy wasn't done. He picked up a soda can from the curb and hurled it. The can clattered loudly on the pavement, just inches from Rex's paws. Rex reacted before Emily could blink. His body tensed. His bark exploded into the air, fierce and protective. The boy stumbled back, startled, and one of his friends screamed. Within seconds, neighbors were leaning out of windows. A man shouted, "That dog's out of control." Claire grabbed Emily's arm, pulling her toward home, but the damage was done. By the time they shut the front door, Emily was shaking all over. She sank onto the couch, clutching Rex's collar, tears streaming down her face. "They'll take him," she whispered, her voice raw. "They're going to take him away." Claire wrapped her arms around her daughter, though her own fear gnawed at her. The town's patience was running thin. Another incident like that, and someone would call animal control. That night, as Emily lay awake with Rex curled at her feet, she heard her parents talking in hushed voices. Her father, who had mostly stayed quiet about the whole situation, finally spoke. "Claire, we can't keep going like this. The whole town's against us. If something happens, we'll be responsible." Claire's reply was firm. "I won't let them take him. Not after what he's done for Emily." But Emily barely heard the rest. The thought of losing Rex pressed down on her chest until it hurt. She buried her face in his fur, whispering over and over, "I won't let them. I won't." The following afternoon, trouble found him again, but this time it wasn't soda can. Emily was walking Rex near the park when she heard a high-pitched scream. Across the street, a little boy had run into the road, chasing a ball, directly into the path of an oncoming car. The world seemed to slow. The driver slammed the brakes, but the car was too close. Without thinking, Rex lunged forward, jerking the leash out of Emily's hands. He sprinted into the road, his body slamming into the boy just hard enough to push him clear of the tires. The car screeched to a stop, missing Rex by inches. The boy's mother shrieked, rushing to her son, who was shaken but unharmed. Rex limped back to Emily, his paw scraped his chest heaving. Emily dropped to her knees, wrapping her arms around his neck. "You saved him," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You saved him." But instead of gratitude, a new wave of panic spread. A small crowd had gathered, and someone muttered, "That dog could have killed the boy if he wanted to." Another voice chimed in, "He should be put down before something worse happens." Emily's world tilted. She wanted to scream, to shout the truth, but her throat locked. All she could do was cling to Rex, who leaned heavily against her as if he, too, was tired of fighting shadows. That evening, Officer Daniels appeared again. He stood stiffly in their living room, his cap tucked under his arm. "I heard about what happened at the park," he said flatly. Claire crossed her arms. "Rex saved that boy's life." Danielle's jaw tightened. Maybe, or maybe he acted on instinct and got lucky. Either way, people are calling him a danger. Animal control is getting complaints. If there's one more incident, they'll take him. Emily stood, her hands balled into fists. Her voice broke as she forced out words. "He's not dangerous. He's a hero." For a moment, silence filled the room. Daniels looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his eyes shifted. Still, he shook his head. "It doesn't matter what you or I believe. It matters what the town believes." And with that, he left. Emily dropped to her knees beside Rex, burying her face in his fur. Her tears soaked into his coat. "I can't lose you," she whispered. "Not you." Rex rested his head on her lap, his dark eyes filled with the same loyalty he had always carried. But the world outside was closing in, And Emily knew their bond was about to face its greatest trial yet. Would the town ever see Rex for what he truly was? Or would fear strip Emily of the one soul who understood her best? The pressure from the town had grown unbearable. Every step Emily took with Rex by her side felt like walking under a storm of judgment. The whispers, the glares, the warnings, they all carried the same cruel message. He doesn't belong. And yet, deep in her heart, Emily knew what the world refused to see. Rex wasn't dangerous. He was brave. He was loyal. He was hers. The turning point came one quiet Saturday morning. Emily and Rex were playing in the backyard when a knock rattled the front door. Claire opened it to find Officer Daniels standing there again, but this time his expression wasn't sharp. It was tired. "There's been a break-in," he said. "One of the warehouses by the river. The suspect is armed, and the department stretched thin. We could use Rex." Claire blinked. "You told us he was unfit." Daniels looked down at his boots. "I did, but the truth is, we don't have another dog trained like him. And if anyone can bring out his best, it's her." His eyes shifted to Emily, who stood clutching Rex's leash. Emily's heart pounded. The thought of sending Rex back into danger terrified her, but she saw the way his ears perked at Danielle's voice, the way his body straightened with purpose. Rex remembered who he was, and he was ready. "Please," Daniel said softly, "just one more mission." Claire hesitated, but Emily spoke before she could. Her voice was steady, stronger than ever. "We'll do it." The scene at the warehouse was tense. Police cars surrounded the building, red and blue lights flashing against the metal siding. Officers whispered into radios, weapons drawn. Emily stood beside Rex, her hand on his collar, her chest tight with fear. Daniels knelt in front of them. "We just need him to track the suspect. Once we have him cornered, it's over. Emily, stay close. Don't let go." Emily nodded. She crouched beside Rex, pressing her forehead against his. "You can do this," she whispered. "I believe in you." Rex's tail gave a single, strong wag. Then he pulled forward, nose low to the ground. The trail was fresh, adrenaline and gunpowder. Emily followed, her small frame moving to the shadows with him, every step echoing with trust. They turned a corner inside the warehouse. There, crouched behind a stack of crates, was the suspect. He spun around, a knife flashing in his hand. Emily gasped, stumbling back. But Rex surged forward, placing himself between her and the man. His growl rumbled low and deep, a warning that froze the air. The suspect hesitated, just long enough for officers to rush in and disarm him. Within seconds, the danger was over. Emily dropped to her knees, hugging Rex with all her strength. Tears streaked down her face, but they were tears of pride. "You did it," she whispered. "You're a hero." By the time they returned home, everything had changed. The news spread quickly. Rex, the dangerous dog everyone had doubted, had saved not only Emily but the entire community from harm. The same neighbors who once whispered now stood at the Carters' door with soft eyes and murmured thanks. At school, the teasing stopped. Some of the very kids who had mocked Emily now looked at her with awe. But none of that mattered to her. All she cared about was the weight of Rex's head resting in her lap, his eyes full of the quiet loyalty that had never wavered. One evening, Daniels came by with official papers. "The department is retiring him permanently," he said. "And after what you two have shown, no one's going to take him from you. He's yours, Emily, for good." Emily's throat tightened. She looked at Rex, then back at Daniels. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel like the quiet, fragile girl on the outside. She felt strong. She felt seen. Rex nudged her hand, and Emily whispered the words that had been locked inside her for so long. "We belong together." From that day on, they were inseparable. The autistic girl who had saved a wounded K9 with her last drop of water, and the forgotten dog who gave her a voice the world could finally hear. Together, they proved that broken doesn't mean useless, and misunderstood doesn't mean unworthy. Their story became a reminder whispered through Fairview. Courage comes in many forms, sometimes quiet, sometimes on four legs. And love, real love, can change everything.